the original Charlotte Hornet, Dell Curry.
Dell Curry for three, ring it up.
The foundational piece upon which the franchise was built.
Dell Curry backs away, ties a career high.
His number 30 jersey soon to be hoisted to the rafters, forever memorialized at Spectrum Center. For the next 30 minutes, we'll celebrate the career of Dell Curry and look back on the impact he had on the team and the city where he raised his family. This is Eyewitness News, Dell Curry jersey retirement. In the 37-plus year history of the Charlotte Hornets, just one jersey has been hung in the rafters. But from now on, no one will wear number 30 in the Queen City again, as the Hornets will retire Dell Curry's number tomorrow night. Welcome to the Spectrum Center as we celebrate the career of Hornets legend Dell Curry. Thanks for joining us. I'm Phil Orban.
I am Deshaun Brown. You know, this has been a long time coming for one of the all-time greats. And soon, his jersey will be on display for all to see. While
the newest generation of Hornet fans knows Dell Curry as the television voice of the team for the past 17 seasons, those in the know understand just how good Dell was in his decade playing for the Hornets. The team's first pick in the 1988 expansion draft, he departed as the team's leading scorer, though he now sits second all-time with 9,839 career points, most of the damage done from beyond the arc. He shot 40% from three as a Hornet, chipping in 3 rebounds and 2 assists per game. But more than the numbers, Dell is a part of the Hornets' DNA. He was the first player chosen by the Hornets in the expansion draft of 1988.
Yeah, and 6 years later, he was named the NBA's Sixth Man of the Year. By the time he left the franchise, he was the all-time leading scorer. He held that title for 20 years. Even with the all-time stats and what we now know as a legendary touch, still, somehow, Dell Curry never saw this coming. When you picked up a basketball for the first time, where was this in the vision?
This was not in the vision. I was just outside, trying to get away from my 4 sisters, shooting the basketball. My dad put a goal up on the side of a building. I went, wow, I can make some shots.
In his time with the Hornets, Dell Curry became the franchise all-time leading scorer. Nearly 30 years later, he still stands among the top 3. What's the backstory behind how that became your number?
Wharton High School, and then when I made a couple of high school All-American teams, the McDonald's All-American, they didn't have 30, they had 15. So I wore 15, and that was what I was going to wear in college. When I got to college, someone already had it. A 5th-year senior had 15. And they went, well, we'll get him to give you that if you want. I went, no, let him. He's a 5th-year guy. I'll go back to my high school number 30. So I've just stuck with it ever since.
Curry's sons wore it too, in college at Davidson and Duke, and both now in the NBA. There's Seth Curry, top 10 in the NBA's three-point percentage all time, and big brother Steph, twice named the league's MVP. Not only do you have 2 sons actively in the NBA, which is huge, but the fact that they also both embraced wearing the number 30. What has that meant for you?
I think growing up around the league, around the game, they understood how difficult it is to play in the league. And like most young sons, they want to be like their dad. So I was super proud that they chose to do that on their own. But as proud as they were to wear it because of their dad, I'm more proud that they're wearing it.
And in a full circle moment, it was Seth as the last Charlotte Hornet in the 30 jersey. For now.
Seth reminded me when this was announced that he was the last guy to wear number 30 in the rafters. So Steph ever comes here, he doesn't have to ask. We'll make sure he's able to wear that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you even allowed yourself to think about the legacy that you are leaving with this organization?
Not yet, because I'm not done. I'm so excited to still be involved with everything that's happening here in this organization, and my jersey going in the rafters not only represents me, but it represents all my teammates, all my fans, the city of Charlotte.
These days, Dell Curry is still very much a pivotal player, narrating the Hornet story now, alongside his broadcast partner and friend, Eric Collins, whom Curry says called for this moment from day one.
And he's been around the game a long time, so we've talked about it. And I'm like, whatever, let it go, man. We're having a good time. My life's good. My jersey retirement not going to change my life, but yes, it is. Now that it's happening, yes, it is.
And the legacy of the Curry 30 extends beyond Dell and has taken on new life in this generation.
Both his sons, Steph and Seth, have worn it publicly and really proudly throughout their careers. In a recent conversation with Steph Curry, he told me he was actually mad it wasn't available sooner.
The ownership had reached out to my brother Seth, who was the last to wear the number 30.
The moment Steph Curry heard the news, the smile wasn't far behind. News that a Hornets legend and his father was on the verge of a lifetime honor. You've always known him as Dad, but what was that moment when you also realized he is the Dell Curry?
It was pretty early. We were spoiled kids that understood. We didn't take it for granted that we got to, be in the locker room, hanging out with Muggsy, Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, Kendall Gill, all the great Hornets legends. But I think probably I was at my mom's school up in Huntersville, and it was the first time going to school after a game and people asking, did you go to the game last night? I watched your dad on TV, that type of thing. But you actually realized he wasn't just a basketball player that did this for fun. It was, this is something that, means a lot to a lot of different people.
Including his children, all three exceptional athletes with sons Steph and Seth, who both wore the 30 jersey. A lot of people would shy away from wearing the jersey number that your father wore. Both you and Seth have had that honor. Why didn't you shy away from that?
A good question. It was never really an option for me. He was such an inspiration growing up, and once I found the love for the game myself, I was actually mad I couldn't do it earlier, because AAU and high school, all the jerseys were sized based on the numbers, so 30 was way up there, so I didn't get to wear it up until I got to Davidson. So I actually had to be patient and wait for my opportunity to wear the 30, and once I did, it was special, because like I said, that's something that when I watched basketball, that was what I got to. I was like, where is number 30 at? I was watching Pops wherever he was on the court.
Now Seth has been in the Hornets 30. Your dad told us, this is not me, he said that you've already asked him if there could be an exception once it goes into the rafters. So what led to that question from you?
Always keep your options open. Like you said, I know what that means when you get your jersey retired. It's immortalized. Nobody should be able to touch it. But I'm sure he'd be able to make a special exception if that were the case.
The Hornets ownership, when they announced that they wanted to do this, one of the things that they mentioned was honoring his legacy. When you think about your father's legacy, what stands out most?
The way that he inspired and rallied around a community, since that first game, the old Hornets arena alive at the Hive, and how he's carried that professionalism and just the spirit of what it means to represent such a unique place. I got a taste of this growing up, and even still to this day, to your point of honoring his legacy, is there are so many people that talk about, I was, in the arena when this happened, or, I remember how much fun we had going to games and getting all dressed up, and what it meant to bring that energy to Charlotte. And all through his 10 years playing for the team, I knew how much it meant to him to represent such a special place and make that home.
Well, the first time Davidson head coach Bob McKillop met Dell Curry, it wasn't on a basketball court or on a visit to recruit his son Steph. It was on a baseball field.
Yes, Stephen was on a 10-year-old travel baseball team with McKillop's son Brendan. They logged a lot of hours watching baseball games, talking about everything but basketball.
I believe that Dell and I had this great respect for each other. He for me as a coach, me for him as a pro player, and we did not have any conversation at all about how's the NBA going, or how's college basketball going?
There's something to be said for those moments of peace away from the basketball court, though it was almost inevitable their paths would circle back to the hardwood. Bob McKillop's recruitment of Stephen Curry began earlier than most. His belief in Stephen stronger than anyone, in part because of the strong character he saw and knew was instilled by his parents.
Congratulating a teammate, not saying anything to the referee, looking the coach in the eye, getting back on defense, and not having a pity party and woe is me, but I'm going to do something right now at the present moment. I think that is a great tribute to what Dell and Sonia did as parents.
And while Steph Curry's path to superstardom has been well documented, he's ranked among the best shooters in NBA history, McKillop sees in him plenty of Dell, and not just that sweet shooting stroke.
The shooting from a technical standpoint, the character from the mental standpoint, they were married together. And that was a significant factor in our recruitment of Stephen.
Character and trust are two hallmarks of Davidson's basketball program, both embodied by the Curry family and put to the test by McKillop.
Throughout the time that Stephen was with us at Davidson, the 3-year period, Dell never once intruded upon the dynamic of being a pro basketball player with incredible knowledge and insight, but he never at all wanted to impose that or question a coaching strategy as we coached Stephen.
Dell Curry, an NBA player with 16 years of experience, left his son's collegiate career in the hands of McKillop and his staff, a decision that paid off.
One of the foundations of our relationship with the Curry family is a foundation built upon trust. Dell and Sonia said, "We trust Stephen in your hands." Stephen said, "Coach, I trust my future in your hands." We said to Stephen, "Steph, we trust you in our uniform and representing our program."
A trust that was built on the baseball diamond all those years ago.
You get a great feel and relationships develop between the parents as well as the players. So it goes back to when Stephen and Brendan were 10-year-olds.
Now, baseball has always been a part of Dell Curry's life. He was drafted by the Texas Rangers out of high school in 1982, decided to play basketball, of course, at Virginia Tech. So he didn't play basketball for 2 seasons. Picked it up again his junior season. He was so good he got drafted again by the Baltimore Orioles in the 14th round.
Then in 1991, he played 1 game for the Gastonia Rangers. Look at this. Right by his side was then teammate Muggsy Bogues. Now, Curry started that game, pitched 3 innings, allowing 1 run. He struck out 4, but they charged him with the loss.
In the rafters, just one jersey has hung alone, honoring a Hornets player killed in the middle of his career. How the family of Bobby Phills is continuing his legacy in their own aspiring way. Plus,
we played 10 and a half years together.
We just got paired together, and he accepted me for who I am.
Teammates turned lifelong friends. Next, we sit down with Muggsy Bogues and Eric Collins as they reflect on the Hornets legend.
welcome back. 2 of the people as excited as any to watch Dell Curry's jersey raised to the rafters are his teammates, past and present.
For nearly every Hornets game, Dell sits side by side with his broadcast partner, Eric Collins, while he played with fellow OG Hornet Muggsy Bogues for most of both their careers.
Because it was a 30 before the other 30 came along, so I'm just happy that the original 30 has been on it.
They're both teammates and at different times. Hornets legend Muggsy Bogues and team announcer Eric Collins share this. Their regard for their friend Dell is through the rafters.
30 is a really important number. You know, the basketball world, for years it was 23, was the most important number that everyone knew. It's like, oh my God, this is Michael's number. But now 30 is iconic.
Collins and Curry have shared the Hornets call for years. To the point fans tune in, now hear 2 friends. Collins says he was a fan first.
We're close in age, and I was a huge basketball fan back in the 80s. Like, it was my passion. It was like the most important thing. And he got traded to my hometown team. So I got a chance to watch him, and his shot was so pure. And then after 1 year the expansion draft happens, and the Cavaliers left him up for the expansion draft, and of course the Hornets pick him up. So he was out of my life.
As that chapter closed, this one was just getting started. What would go through your mind as you put the ball in his hands?
Well, you know, Dell and I played, out of my 14 years and his 15, 16 years, we played 10 and a half years together. And I'm quite sure out of all of my 6,000 plus assists, I'm quite sure he got half of them.
It was this play, Dell Curry said, that set the tone for his Hornets career against Golden State November 17th, 1989.
What Coach drew up, I just didn't feel that in terms of we going out on the floor. So I kind of gave him his game plan, his instruction, what he needed to do. And of course, I was able to penetrate and draw two guys to me.
Dell Curry hit the game-winning shot at the buzzer. For all the moments and milestones, his friends said they're more impressed by who he is.
Well, he accepted me, and that was the most important thing. Like, he didn't know who I was. We didn't have any relationship. We just got paired together. And he accepted me for who I am immediately. Like, he never once said, hey, let's tone it down, or let's go over here, or I don't want to talk about this. It was always, I'm up. Let's try it.
Opposite always attract. And, I was a city kid, and he was a country boy. And we just really enjoyed each other, vacations from the moments off the court in terms of, being on the court for so many years. And it was a blessing just to share the court with my brother.
Until now, the Charlotte Hornets have only retired one jersey in franchise history.
They couldn't have chose a better jersey to, join Bobby's in the rafters.
Next, we sit down with the wife and son of Bobby Phills as they pay tribute in their own way to the late number 13.
Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall have owned the Hornets a little less than 3 years, and already the franchise is dramatically different. A new front office, a new coaching staff, and a new look Spectrum Center that just hosted a franchise-tying 16 straight sellouts.
There's also been a new commitment to honoring the team's past and ensuring that the legends that shaped the Hornets franchise from its inception don't get forgotten. First on the list was Dell Curry.
We think as an ownership group it's really important to embrace the history and the legacy of this organization, and Dell was kind of a founding member in many respects.
Great organization, celebrate history, and so we're going to do that. Dell's been a great part of this organization, and we want to celebrate people that represent what we want to represent as an organization, so it's important.
When the Hornets raised Dell Curry's 30 jersey into the rafters Thursday, he'll join the 13 jersey last worn by Bobby Phills. It's currently the only number the franchise has ever retired.
Phil's sudden death in January of 2000 stunned the franchise and the city of Charlotte, but his wife, Kendall, refused to shrink in the face of tragedy, instead working to continue the legacy of the Phills name, passed on now to a third generation.
Personally, I'm glad he's getting some company. And they couldn't have chose a better jersey to, join Bobby's in the rafters. Bobby respected Dell Curry so much.
The number 13 jersey of the late Bobby Phills has hung alone in the Spectrum Center rafters for over 26 years.
The city of Charlotte loved Bobby, and we love the city of Charlotte. So to continue those works through the Phills Foundation, his name lives on through my works that I'm doing. His legacy lives through his children as well.
But a lot has happened in the 2.5 decades since Phil's death. That 3-year-old boy hoisting his father's number to the rafters will turn 30 this year, the same age his father was when he died in a car accident on the way home from Hornets practice in January of 2000.
There's something beautiful about just again, remembering where we come from, and these stories won't tell themselves. So it's kind of like if there's any burden, it's on me to just bring it back to life and take on new shapes.
Trey, Bobby Phills III, recently retired from professional basketball and now makes sports content as an influencer, carving out a unique path of his own, always aware the weight his last name carries in Charlotte.
I just think it's really cool to kind of build your own lane and remind people in subtle ways that we are a product of what we come for, and this is a way to pay homage, and it doesn't have to look the same way.
If you spend your whole life measuring yourself against someone else's legacy, you might miss the one that you were meant to build.
An emotional tribute to his father and their shared legacy garnered millions of views across Trey's social media channels. Fans filling the comment section with fond memories of his father.
The comments are about moments and not wins and losses, so I think it's allowed me to broaden what it means to be a basketball figure and a part of a legacy that's greater than mine, and I get to build on top of that.
When we look at that jersey, obviously it's a reminder that was, their dad, my late husband, but it's also a reminder of the man he was. He was an incredible man, a fierce competitor, and he had a strong impact on this community.
On Thursday night, and every night that follows, when fans look up to Dell Curry's number 30, they'll see number 13 hanging alongside it. And perhaps, curiosity piqued, they'll Google the name and learn about Bobby Phills and the impact he had on Charlotte.
I wasn't old enough to form any memories with him, so a lot of it is through stories. So continuing to just, I guess, look up and go to the games, and now there's company up there, so there will be new conversations, new stories that continue to form and build. I think that's really special.
And that'll do it for us tonight on Eyewitness News' Dell Curry jersey retirement.
We are 24 hours away from his number 30 jersey being raised into the rafters when the Hornets host Orlando. Have a good night.